everyone. That didn't have the effect I thought it would. Can I have your attention, please? I don't know what we're doing. Assassin's Creed Unity is a game that happened. I don't know why I've decided to play it again, but I have, and if I have to suffer, then so do you. While it may not be my favourite game of all time, I think it's fair to say that it's infinitely better than whatever else this franchise is doing these days.
Oh yes, a big hellhound drinker family.
Should that score it points though? No. But I'm told this game is really good after the patches, whatever that means. And ever since it released back in 2014, I've only sat and played through this game properly, like, twice. It had this scuffed system where you could only have one save and you had to go into the game files to delete your save if you wanted to start a new one, which was kind of weird, if I'm being honest with you. So a third playthrough for this chaotic video to help push my old Assassin's Creed audience, or whatever's left of them, onto the more interesting content that I do these days definitely couldn't hurt. Just kidding, I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I also never really sat down and intellectually spoke about this game, and I doubt I ever will. I'm not exactly what they call intellectual. However, let's begin. In Assassin's Creed Unity, you play as Arno, a man whose dad died. This plot device goes nowhere because the man who killed him is Shay Cormac, the protagonist of Assassin's Creed Rogue, a game made so quickly the protagonist was a retcon and is therefore no longer relevant. Fast forward a few years, Arno is no longer a traumatized child and is romantically pursuing his foster father's daughter, Elise, whose dad dies. Arno is framed for the murder and goes to prison, where he meets a creepy old man who claims to have known his father, which is prison lingo for spread thy cheeks, son. This guy has a West Country accent and it threw me off. He's French. He also calls us piss pot about 600 times over the course of the game. Apparently, Arno's father was an assassin, which has ass in it twice, which is prison lingo for bum. Eventually, after what I presume is months of prison romance, the pair escape. Arno joins the assassins because his dad was an assassin, so now so is he. The induction goes a bit like this. Solve a puzzle, take some hard drugs, and you're in. And we're already halfway through the game. Turns out Elise's father was a Templar, the sworn enemy of the Assassins. Elise becomes a Templar too, which is naughty naughty, and thanks to Assassin's Creed Rogue we know that Arno's father was murdered by a Templar. Not that that ever becomes relevant. Why would it? This is a Ubisoft game. It's all about the gimmick of the week with those guys. What's the gimmick of the week? Online co-op. You can play with your friends. Sexually. No, you can team up with 3 other assassins and partake in checklist missions. Or you can run around the open world, enjoy the parkour, and complete checklist objectives such as pointless collectibles, murder mysteries which are actually pretty sick, and falling through the world, though you don't actually have to be online to do any of that, which is nice. Is the co-op system of this game actually fun though? Yeah, it was for about 15 minutes, until I realised I have no friends and teaming up with randoms is not on the table when nobody's playing this game anymore. But playing the heist missions, for example, solo is pretty neat, but at least there aren't stupid emotes like dabbing. There would be if Ubisoft released this game today. However, why would they do that when they can make ridiculous 100-hour plus RPGs and fill them with all kinds of stupid fantasy shit, disguising what is effectively a digital storefront for valueless items, maybe mention the Assassins once or twice in passing, and then slap the Assassin's Creed logo on the box.
I literally can't tell the difference between the Assassin's Creed games.
What I wouldn't do to meet the executive that made that decision in a fucking Tesco car park, man. The fact that I couldn't find any co-op games to play wasn't a big loss. It's a big part of Unity, however, I'm not really a multiplayer-oriented person. I'm not even a people person, but it is cool that Assassin's Creed tried a co-op system at least once. What about what you find in the world in passing? Well, this game has encounters where you can kill criminals, kill more criminals, stop criminals from stealing from people, and kill messengers, though this one never actually works. There are side stories, however, for the most part, they're pretty shit. The delivery of the storytelling here is stiffer than Prince Andrew's dick when he watches Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Too far? Okay. The game also has customization, and strangely, the best gear is also the fucking silliest. In what world do you think a hardcore master assassin wants to look like a fucking garden gnome? You can also go full flamboyant if you want. Wait, I can just equip whatever I want and then slap on Edward's robes. Buzzing. Leveling is based on rank, which means absolutely nothing. However, if you get the best gear, which is stupidly steep in pricing, you may have a chance at succeeding in the next mission. Why is it so steep in pricing? Microtransactions, everyone's favourite. Yes, Unity was the beginning of the end, however it was nowhere near as intense. However, the floodgates were opened, and now Ubisoft is shamelessly attempting to suck money out of your wallets at every given turn. Thank you, Assassin's Creed Unity. This curve may seem pretty steep, but there actually isn't that much story content. Many sequences are just a couple of missions long. However, you can unlock more or less skill points depending on how you execute a mission, especially when it comes to the co-op missions, and those go towards unlocking skills. It's kind of hard to remember the story when you've got to do a million ridiculous things in between each mission, but I'll do my best. Pierre Balek calls us a piss pot a lot.
Ow! Focus, piss pot.
We tail people, we also kill people on occasion, sometimes because we're told to, and other times we kill people because we want to. Mirabeau, the leader of the assassins, dies. Turns out he was killed by Pierre Balek himself, the West Country accent prison guy, because we brought Elise, a Templar, to the assassin hideout for protection. He goes full Sith Lord, so Arno has to kill him. He dies. Napoleon's in the game. Cool, I guess. Turns out, for some reason, the Templars are cleaning house and they want Elise dead. Turns out, Elise's Templar father was killed by Templars, but not the same Templars that killed Arno's father. No, these are different Templars, which are also different Templars to the Templar that Elise is. This is so convoluted, fuck's sake. Arno gets expelled from the Assassin Brotherhood like it's a fucking boarding school. Arno and Elise fall out, so Arno becomes an alcoholic, and then massacres the town in a bar brawl because this game doesn't have a fist fight mechanic. We do some drunk benign shit and then Elise comes back. Elise shoots a man in the mouth. Germain finds the Sword of Eden, so we have to scrap him, but unfortunately, in the fray, Elise dies. The vast majority of her plot significance is unfortunately her proximity to Arno. So unfortunately I laugh out loud because Arno has been chasing that ginger all game. Arno is somehow a member of the Assassins once more. We get an epic speech, though I'm not entirely sure what part of the plot it actually came from, and then as the credits roll, Bishop tells us how pointless everything we just did was.
My god, I don't believe what I'm seeing. Arno won this fight 2 centuries before it started. Well done, kid. I don't think Abstergo will bother searching the catacombs for Germain's body. The bones are going to be too damaged, too decayed. We're in the clear at this stage. You did good work, Initiate.
Oh, and yeah, the French Revolution is effectively kicking off all over the place in the background of the entire story. I do kind of like that, though. As for the modern day, what modern day? We get a lady in a chair named Bishop who tells us to do things, and we do. She sort of just hounds us to join the Assassins out of nowhere, like we're just sat at home playing a video game. Wait. And every now and then we get these rifts we can jump through for some reason. I suppose it's in order to avoid being tracked by Abstergo, who are the Templars, but in modern day. With respect, the modern day in this game is half-assed. The story is short and kind of falls short besides. They definitely didn't have enough time to do very much, and what little time they did have was probably spent coding that bloody crouch button. Apparently, to get the crouch function working, they had to alter 6 million lines of code. Jesus. No wonder the game's pagged. Anyway, moving on. Gameplay. Assassin's Creed Unity has combat, parkour, flashy parkour moves. As I mentioned before, online co-op, customization, and it's not really that bad. At least in theory, it's just predominantly fucked. It can be a bit frustrating at times with the character going everywhere but where you want him to go, but that's more down to a lack of polish and refine rather than the system itself being fundamentally fucked. But at least we have a crouch button. It took them 7 years to add that to Assassin's Creed. That's incredible. The stealth can be hit and miss, but on the whole it's serviceable, until it's not. The biggest issue with the gameplay, however, is sometimes the gameplay just does not behave. However, I've seen videos of people getting it to work amazingly, so maybe I'm just a baboon. Glitches, there's still an abundance of them, but this game is really good after the patches! And by that we mean Arno's dad's face doesn't disappear before he dies. It was far, far worse 8 years ago when this game released, so let's not beat a dead horse. Visually, the game looks nice until you realise it's just a mixture of really overpowering lighting and textures at the expense of draw distance. However, some areas, like the Notre Dame Cathedral, look breathtaking, and Ubisoft thought it would be a shame to waste that, so now they're making a game dedicated to Notre Dame being on fire. That sounds like a right blast. This game also features big crowds, so you can immerse yourself as a blade in the crowd. It's all well and good until you notice the NPCs in the crowd shape-shifting, and then it's no longer immersive. And you will literally never be able to unsee it. This lovely man rioting in the streets, he's a woman now! I really wouldn't want to be in the room when Sergei Haskot noticed that. Performance. Oh, the game crashed. I'm gonna need a strong drink. Shall we talk about an undisputed positive instead? Black box assassination missions. Having the freedom to go about an assassination mission any way that I want is pretty fun. Can't say I have much finesse though. It's nowhere near the level of the Hitman games, but I appreciate where it was going, and it's a shame that they fucked it off for epic Vikings and ancient Greeks. But today we're going to forget about that. Black box missions give you the freedom to choose how you approach a mission, but doesn't give you so much freedom that the mission doesn't feel like its own little set piece. You can get unique kills and unique opportunities, and it did feel meaningful. As for another positive, Dead Kings. This DLC was released for free as an apology for the fact that when Unity released, it took some serious patience. The game was fucked, but we got a free DLC and it was actually pretty cool. Arno was a better character in that because he wasn't chasing after Elise the entire game. And finally, another positive. The game ends. I know that may sound like a bit of a backhander, but hear me out. It doesn't go on forever and it doesn't waste your time nearly as much as some other Ubisoft games do these days. Not that Ubisoft is the only company in the world that's responsible for this, but they are definitely leading the charge. And I can also appreciate when replaying Assassin's Creed Unity that there was definitely some attempt at innovation in the game. While the game may not have delivered all the time, it was definitely intended as a step up from what Assassin's Creed was before it. They stagnated kind of with Syndicate, and then since they've just gone the RPG route, and now we're in a mess. So, is Assassin's Creed Unity fun? At some points. Was it worth revisiting? Yeah. Is it good after the patches? Pretty average. Wouldn't say terrible, wouldn't say great. The patches may have fixed a lot of the technical problems that the game suffered from, but it still has a fair few technical problems, and while they can't be ironed out, after all, every game has its issues on the technical front, they're just too big to not. The game underneath is also somewhat lacking, though it clearly had a vision, and it was also a pleasure to play because it came from a time where Assassin's Creed understood that it should be about fucking assassins. Oh man, why did I do this to myself? On the desk it makes the noise. I'm actually about to knock that off my desk and it's half full. That'll be a bad idea.